Joining us now is Jeremy Stalnecker, a combat veteran and the executive director of the Mighty Oaks Foundation. So, Jeremy, we kind of went through those clips right there, kind of showing MSNBC how they covered the Sanders campaign. Do you think that's an accurate portrayal of the way that they feel about the Sanders campaign?
I think it would be naive to believe that if Bernie Sanders were to get the nomination, that MSNBC anchors would not be touting the virtues of socialism or downplaying socialism as it is. They would get behind him. They would say he is the best candidate possible to run our country and to lead us into the next generation, whatever those lines would be. Really, I think that the reason they're against Bernie Sanders is because they don't believe he can win, and they hate Donald Trump so much and so deeply that they're going to do whatever they can to move Sanders off the stage and hopefully put a candidate in that can actually win in a general election. I don't think it reflects what they believe. I think it reflects the fear that they have that they're going to lose the general.
So acknowledging that point, then, they have to have their backing behind some candidate, right? I mean, if they don't think that Bernie Sanders is the person to do it, there's obviously some type of mentality they have that there is a candidate that can do it. Have you noticed, or do you think that there is a candidate that they've been backing?
I think probably the party line would be Elizabeth Warren. I really believe it's Amy Klobuchar, and I'll tell you why. When the New York Times editorial board gave their endorsement, not to one person, but to two people, I think they did that for one reason. They did that because they wanted to get behind a winner, Amy Klobuchar, but did not want to freeze out those who would support Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren is moving as far toward the socialist side or the Sanders side as she possibly can without going all of the way. I don't think she can win. I think Amy Klobuchar has that kind of center of the country, straight talk, more conservative, if you will, approach, and she's the one that can win. And I think the establishment will get behind her as we go forward.
No, I think we've started to see that too. I mean, you talk about the New York Times, what they did, right, and you talk about the recent coverage. In fact, the other day on MSNBC, there was a pundit saying that they're all looking at that very desired third place spot.
Yes.
And anyone who's ever played sports or any competitive type of thing for that matter, I don't think they're vying for that third place spot very often.
Right.
But it is kind of interesting because she is surging now at this moment. And it's kind of interesting too because Bernie Sanders has been the progressive leader for the most part. And then those moderates, they're kind of cycling in and out. At one point it's Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar now. It's a matter of who really gets that spot, who will vie against Bernie Sanders. So do you think that is really where the divide is right now? It's kind of the worry about the progressive candidates and the hope that a moderate can kind of surface and be that person to not only challenge Bernie Sanders, but be a more viable candidate in the general election?
I think that's exactly what it is. In conjunction with the New Hampshire primary earlier this week, a poll came out that said a majority of both Republicans and independents said that they would not vote for a socialist for president in the general election. This is extremely troubling to those who support Bernie Sanders and those who would even espouse socialist ideologies or kind of that far left-leaning ideology. The only chance they have, and they have to understand this, they being the Democratic Party, is an Amy Klobuchar. She's more relevant. She is female, she speaks straight, she's not as left, and really, I think she has a better chance. I don't think she can win, but I think she has a better chance in the general than any of the other candidates.
So that's kind of interesting to hear because Joe Biden, for the longest time, has been the front runner. He's gone on that electability thing, as he says, but after the first two states, we see that may not be the case. Of course, he's looking ahead to Super Tuesday, a part where there is a little bit more of a diverse type of electorate. There's more states. He hopes that he can gain some ground right there. But then also, right now, we're seeing Michael Bloomberg kind of come up in the polls. And I mean, I think if you're a Republican or a Democrat, it's kind of a weird thing to see because he hasn't been on the debate stage. He really hasn't been making too many public appearances. He's been flooding the local markets with this big money. And I think that's a testament to the idea that a lot of older voters are still watching television and they are getting the exposure to him too. Do you think that Michael Bloomberg has a threat to President Trump at all?
I think Michael Bloomberg is a threat to the Democratic Party. He has the money. He has really the resources to insert himself into the process in a way that none of the other candidates can. However, on the debate stage with Donald Trump in a general election, two billionaires going at it, talking about how they're for the common people, he really cannot run on what he has done. Meanwhile, President Trump can say, 4 years ago, I said I would do this, 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 and this, and we've done this, 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 and this. The Democratic Party is looking at every metric we would use to evaluate a president and saying all of them are terrible, the American people are terrible, we need something new. Meanwhile, the president is saying every metric indicates that we're doing better than we have in 50 years. I don't believe he has the communication skills, that is Bloomberg, to go against the president in a general election, not at all.
I think you might be onto something, too, because I think it's worth pointing out that, for example, Tom Steyer essentially bought himself onto the debate stages as of recently. Michael Bloomberg has decided not to do that, and it's not because he doesn't have the money. His net worth is about 50 times that of Steyer's. So I think it's very interesting and very telling, for that matter, that he has decided not to be on the debate stage. I think it kind of speaks to one of his vulnerabilities right there. But, Jeremy, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.